We are live.
All
There we
right,
go.
thank you.
Good stuff.
All right, today is Monday, March 3rd. This is a Student Services Committee meeting for the School District of Menominee Falls. There's a possibility that a quorum of the full membership of the Board of Education may be in attendance at board committee meetings. There will be no full board action taken at any board committee meeting. Only members of the committee may vote on any item on the agenda. A live broadcast will be streamed on the school district YouTube page. To watch the recorded meeting, please visit our School District of Menominee Falls YouTube site. It is 6:01 and we are called to order meeting in the Village Hall Upper Level Conference Room 3344-3345, Pilgrim Road, Menominee Falls. And has the meeting been properly posted?
Yes, it is.
All right, wonderful. Going on to minutes approval, can I get a motion to approve the minutes?
I'll make the motion.
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Minutes are approved. All right, discussion items. This evening we have a lighter agenda than our last meeting. And we'll start this one with safety and security updates.
Alright, so we've got quite a few things that we put in place so far this school year, but quite a few new things that we put in place over the last few months. And one as recently as last week. One of the initiatives we've been trying to accomplish is the alert badges. It's the one where you can actually trigger either a 911 call or a response from the office if you need some sort of administrative support. We did a visit in Brookfield and we visited a company, RFT Security. And they are willing to work with us and help us actually finance this process, which, as we've talked about in the past, can be in the tens and tens of thousands to the hundreds of thousands by the time we're done. So if we're able to get a grant, and they have a grant writer that's gonna be working with Caitlin, and if we can get a grant to do it, we might be able to cover 3 to 5 years of this, which is pretty interesting.
So this is not like the pilot, this is actually
The
writing
actual, yeah,
a grant and having that
you bet. And we are,
3 to
and
5.
one of the other nice things that you mentioned, pilot, we are gonna be piloting with them
Okay,
their outdoor system. So we're going to be a beta test district for this outdoor system to figure out what the ranges of some of these badges and where we wanna have different beacons, they call them, which are response towers basically that operate these things. So they're gonna be meeting with us over the next few weeks. They're gonna meet with myself, John Amato, Dan Gebauer, Katie Welke, and then we're actually gonna demo in the school as well. So we're gonna narrow down a test area, test region, how much a beacon is gonna cover inside too, so it's pretty exciting stuff when you think about it,
Starting at the high school.
starting at the high school,
Okay.
yeah. But they were talking about the grant actually covering the entire district for us, which would be phenomenal if we can get that done.
okay.
So it's a COPS grant and a STOP grant through basically a police department grant that we could work with our police department with. And talking with our police department last week, they are 100% on board with helping us, which is great. So it's a great relationship.
Yeah.
So more to be coming on that moving forward. CPR, AED, and first aid trainers. So I think we brought this up at one of the meetings, we were gonna go through the training. John Amato, Alyssa Lutke, Pam Anderzak, and myself are the trainers for the district now. In addition to the rec department trainers and our lifeguard trainer. So we've got now 6 total people that are gonna be able to provide training for our medical response teams. We've scheduled out 2 for the mornings before school, with the next goal to be, after tomorrow's principal meeting, get some people signed up for that from their medical response team so we can actually have that training take place. We can take up to 12 per class, and that's gonna actually get almost our entire district covered completely for our medical response team. So everybody else has been slowly getting their certifications for it, but that's a good next step in the process.
So you want like 2 to 3 per school?
Yep, so we've got about 2, and most of our teams run anywhere between 6 and 10 people. So we've got about 2 or 3 people still per school at the most that need it. Some schools are completely done already. I think Shady Lane's fully certified right now, so we're in pretty good shape district-wide on it, which is kind of exciting too. And then moving forward, what the goal will be is to have every single person in the district at least be compression certified in CPR. So that's gonna be another big step too. We've talked about it in the past too, and making a note to the insurance company to see if maybe that'll give us some sort of rate discount or some sort of application or lower rates, but haven't heard back yet, but that's gonna be the next step of the safety meeting process as a district.
Okay,
Another real exciting development.
wow.
Tabletop exercises. So So we started with our first tabletop exercises. We actually went to Ben Franklin, we've got the middle school done, the high school scheduled, Valley View is done. And we're starting the process with something kind of simple. I think I might have mentioned this too, the interesting title behind it is, can you smell that smell? And it was based upon the gas leak. I don't want to give away too much because a couple schools haven't done yet, but ultimately it was a nice tabletop, get your feet wet type scenario where we can figure out who does what, just having conversations about it. It's pretty brief, it's about 20 minutes total, and then there's like a debriefing for after action report for about 5 minutes, so we walk through on it. So that's been the first step of the process. All the rest of the ones that I've got designed and borrowed are organized out, and I'll be sharing that with the principals tomorrow as well, so that they can take it, and if they want me to be present, they can, otherwise them or the APs can deliver the training to the whole staff, so that's been going pretty well. And that's actually a pretty big lift that we got done. It was nice to get the ball rolling during the summer with Freighter when we did that big, huge medical one. So people could get a feel of like our end goal, what that looks like.
Exactly.
And so that we're slowly working our way towards that as an organization, so.
And I think that really does help to see the end goal.
Yeah, just so you can see how many
And how
different
massive
agencies-
that project is,
Yeah,
and then it is these little steps that have to come together to get to that point.
yeah, the coordination just of all the different agencies, the whole point and purpose behind the National Incident Management System is that. So everybody has common language, they have common practice, and then they kind of know whose chain of command operates what.
Mhm.
So again, it's been pretty nice, and all their teams, the safety teams have been like really into it, really understanding and been motivated about it, so it's pretty good, considering they're all volunteers,
Right,
which is nice too.
okay,
Alright, but other than that, there's, it's ongoing. Oh, and one other one, actually. I just added another one recently, so I've been working with WCTC to get drug impairment training. It used to be called DITEP, which was Drug Impairment Training for Educational Professionals. So WCT has modified it slightly, it's the same deliverer, he actually got promoted, he was a captain, I think now he's a assistant chief in a different police department. But he's an instructor for it, and now it's called Employer Drug Impairment Training, which is really the same training, but it's also good for HR people, for supervisors, where
Sure.
you need to just be aware someone might be under the influence of something. So I've been working with them and trying to coordinate with other districts. We've got about 8 people and staff members, including myself, that are gonna be attending the training, but they need 12 to run it. So we've been trying to work with other school districts in kind of the whole metro area to see if anybody else is interested. Wauwatosa is gonna be getting it to their HR people. South Milwaukee already bailed out, they said they're not gonna do it, but I'm gonna try to get hold of Germantown and probably Sussex, Hamilton, and maybe Heartland, see if they're interested in Pewaukee. So David sent it out to all the superintendents to see, kind of gauge interest that way too, but so far Tulsa's been the one that seemed to be the most interested, which is nice.
okay.
So that is another recent development, so. And she just created the ad, sent it our direction, and I've been forwarding it out to everybody too, so.
Right, and everyone thinks that that's something that might be extreme, but you could have a side effect from a prescription drug as easy as
Yeah,
anything else.
And
I mean,
remember-
and then how do you react to that?
I remember when the fire department was talking to us about the oat boxes. She said the number one thing is, people are picturing that there's overdoses with the drug addicts and heroin deals, but number one cause of overdose is someone taking too much of their prescription medication by accident. So that is, it's like, you don't really pay much attention to it if you've been taking this pill for a while, and then they show up to work in front of you and you're going, not right. What do I gotta do here? That's what the training helps all with too.
Yeah.
So it kind of gives you the legal aspects of it behind it. Alright.
Yeah, that's actually another question, so once we have that training facilitated, what does that look like legally? Does that put a liability on us, take liability off of us?
Takes liability off.
Okay,
Because if we, say for example, we don't have the training, and this is one of the things in law enforcement that you deal with a lot too, is based upon my training and knowledge, is a very common statement when it comes to being able to do presentations in the court. So you have to have the training and knowledge, otherwise you're just kind of willy-nilly guessing at what you're looking at.
sure,
So because we have
Okay.
this training, if we do run into somebody who's impaired, then we have more of a justification of why we are experts in that, because we already have the training, beyond the years of experience.
sure.
So all of the investment in skilling up, whether it be CPR, whether it be these on-site programs, whether it be this training, does that correlate into anything from a risk management and our overall insurance? Like, is there
Yep,
a
that's what I'm
cost
hoping,
benefit to making the investment? So,
that's what I'm hoping for.
Okay, good.
But I mean, aside from just like,
1,000%, like you wanna be able to solve the crisis when it's happening and know that you've got the talent around to do it. But then ultimately, if there's a payoff, to be able to say, hey, we're making the investment in time to skill up, this is what the payoff is. Alright, awesome.
Yeah. That's the one of the things that we got set up for the next insurance meeting. So at our last district safety team meeting, the insurance company wasn't there, but they're coming now, so
Okay,
the
perfect.
next one they're gonna be there.
Okay.
But they were pretty excited when they brought it up, you're just having everybody compression trained.
Right.
And I wanna say that when we were in Pewaukee, everybody, cause we had full-on district in services where we were doing CPR and AED training, so everybody was CPR and AED training. I think there was. I think there was some sort of benefit in the background on that too, so.
Okay.
I hope there is. But again, we save one life, it's worth it, but at the same time, it'd be nice as we're going
Yes.
to help, recoup some of the costs of the training.
Well, while everything else is going up, it'd be lovely to say that
Yeah,
either A, this remains neutral, or maybe gives a little,
little bit.
a little,
And us being trainers does help if we, like say for example, Jackie or our other trainer at the rec department's out.
Yep.
We can supplant that with us.
that's awesome.
So that was one of the other reasons why Alyssa was real interested in it, is was a way to supplant, and that'll bring income in too for them, which is nice.
Right. Absolutely. Okay, site improve demonstration.
Alright. Here comes the fun one, so I'm gonna try to show a little bit. Can you guys see that okay?
Yep.
Okay, so where we were, so this was a measurement that we had gotten last week. And this is after we had already done some improvements, and this is like an overall, it's similar to the way the ACT is designed, you take the combination of the three, and then you get your composite score on the top. So we were looking at a whole bunch of changes, we've implemented changes for the past couple of weeks. And when we showed up last week, we saw these results. We had actually been in the 70s the week before. And I thought, what the heck is going on here? This one here is one of the toughest ones to fix, is quality assurance. Because that's the dead links, it's a spelling error, if you see a kid's name spelled, if there's a different type of spelling on a name, it'll flag it as being spelled wrong, but it's the actual spelling of the name. So you get all these little zingers in there, and I'll show you that once we pull it up. So we started looking through what they're recommended to fix. Started fixing them. And this is still where we ended up. And I'm like, well, what the heck is going on here? Well, it turns out, last week, so on 2/28, we ran it again. Last week, Waukesha County decided that they're gonna put out their whole new updated webpage. On our webpage, we have tons and tons of links connected to Waukesha County.
Oh no, so
So
we're
it
all
killed
your
a
links.
ton of
Oh,
our
no.
links, and it made it look like, holy cow, our webpage just had this huge crash in performance of what it was doing.
Yeah.
So we kinda had a little, what's going on? So we went back in, most of the things that we corrected brought us up to here. So if you look at the quality assurance jump alone, we had 24.3 points. That was about 140 or 150 page corrections.
QA, that's awesome.
That was a lot.
What do we, just so that I can understand a little bit more, what do we have that connected to our website for Waukesha County?
So all of our student
Reminds
services,
me.
actually, all the
Yeah.
things that we do in pupil services. So we'll have special ed services, we'll have senior citizens for the rec department. I can actually show you on our webpage too.
So a
because
lot of
there's
it
a lot.
is rec department.
Yeah.
Essentially, our
Well-
connection
Well-
through them.
So maybe CDC, there's a lot of like health information that comes from the county level.
Okay,
So if you just think about the fact that there's probably county rules and regs that we have to adhere to, there's probably a supporting link to what's going on.
sure.
So this, I almost gave Alec a heart attack, cause I said, Alec, this is your webpage, you need to fix all this.
Oh.
So, and then of course I followed up with, just kidding,
No good deed
we're out
has ever
of
been
Oh,
created. It's like, I just did it all.
So this page alone, right, this was the big, this is transition resources through
Sure.
Waukesha County.
Okay.
This one had tons. So if you look at each one of these pages, so many of, all of these links,
Right,
Our county links.
all county links.
got it.
So as we're kind of
And
paging
that
through
makes
it,
sense.
I'll show you how it looks too when you're inside of the actual program. But what we had to do is click here, and then we had to have another one open so that we could actually adjust to where the current site is, because they moved it. Some of theirs actually died, so they were dead links within the links.
Okay.
So we ended up by having to
Clean up our content.
clean up our site too, yep.
Until you can find it and then maybe re-add it, but it wasn't, really
Wasn't
just
there.
eliminated,
Yep.
period.
And I'm gonna show you, and again, back into that site improve, it's really nice because it pinpoints the locations for you. Doesn't give you the exact fix, so you still have to dig within 5 or 6 clicks. But that was one of the
Then you have
biggest
to
things.
search a whole website trying to
Oh
figure
my
out the
goodness,
keyword.
that is
Mhm.
amazing, yes.
So you notice here that our full, this was all groups, so this was divided out by performance by group. This original one here is by both web pages too. So you're gonna see by groups, individual groups, we scored pretty darn high. I ran another one, and when I show you the live feed, it'll go back to groups, but then I ran this one today. And overall, this is the most important version, because this is a full evaluation of both web pages, the athletic and ours. So again, we still had a 14.4% growth overall, we're at 75.4 for total. Accessibility is that's the one for the ADA compliance in 2027. So if you look at our webpage, you'll see this little stick person down here, and they'll talk about different options that you can have within those pages too, and that's on all of our web pages. So that's one of the biggest things Troy's been really working on, while I've been in the background working on dead links, and he's been working on dead links too, but he's been working on that ADA compliance piece.
Okay.
And really getting the training behind it to figure out what it is that we need to do manually.
Where do we need to be for ADA compliance, 100%?
By 2027, and again.
Oh, okay, so we got time.
Yeah, but it's every single piece of communication we send out, everything that comes out of the district has to be ADA compliant. So beyond just our webpage communication,
Every email,
every
every
email,
letter
every,
going
you
home.
got it,
Does anyone ever reach 100%?
I don't know.
Oh, we'll find out.
We'll find out,
We're gonna
or it
look
might
at
change
ones.
between now and then too, but that's, it's kind of like even just buildings, you know, like our buildings for ADA compliance for wheelchair accessibility. We're not 100%.
Yeah.
But we do adapt whenever we have a need that shows up.
Yeah.
And then as budgetary stuff allows for it, we try more and more to become ADA compliant. The village isn't even really ADA compliant when it comes to a lot of the things that are here, restrooms being a prime example of that. So it's one of those things where you're always shooting for it, but I don't know that you're ever gonna hit it,
Right.
because it also can be a moving target.
Yeah.
So one of the things that I'll show you guys tonight is when you start looking at readability, which is part of the ADA compliance thing, they generally recommend that all your materials that you have on your webpage are designed for at maximum a 10th grade reading level. So again, that's kind of a moving target because we have a lot of people that are lower, a lot of people are higher, but that's what they recommend for it. So when you see some of the things that we got out there, we've got high college, we've got low college, but then you're also gonna see we've got some that don't even qualify. And one of the biggest things that you're gonna find out when we start digging in this is they call them polysyllabic words, so more than one syllable. Word auditorium flags, because it's got too many syllables in it. So that is an issue for within ADA compliance. So you think about every word on all of our pages through the whole thing,
It's
that's
progress.
why this is a complicated thing to be trying to go after. And again, without that program, we wouldn't be aware of it. Nobody's an ADA lawyer within our district, so
Right,
unless someone pointed out. The thing that I started thinking about more than this is like, we're a fairly big district, and we're fairly vested in making sure things are done like this. But if all of a sudden, I'm a small district in the state of Wisconsin or anywhere else in the country,
Resources.
how are you gonna meet those? I just.
Can they
just struggle.
outsource? Will someone do it on their behalf? But then that probably costs a lot of money then too.
You imagine where Milwaukee would be though.
Right, so on the flip side of it, you're so big, then how do you manage even one of the pages that they have, because they got thousands of pages.
Right.
So, and because they're a larger metro area, they have to get theirs done by 2026. Because of the size of us, we haven't done 2027. We missed it by like 3,000 people, which was good. So I mean, that
But like,
was a bonus.
or what?
That was the other part of it, or do they start withdrawing funding, do they?
No, I mean, or you're ADA compliant or what?
Right, do they start pulling funding, do they,
Right.
you know, that's the thing, no one really has a set answer for it. Because it was brought on pretty quickly, I mean, it was like, I never heard about it, other than when I saw the webpage, I'm like, hey, what's this?
yeah,
You know, and that was like a year ago,
it hasn't been on my
and
radar.
then it started just kind of getting more and more and more and more, and then you start seeing like some of the things built into this website here, like assistive technology and stuff.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's go to the last piece of this. So overall, we're heading in the right direction. There's hiccups along the way, you know, we've got some areas specifically that we wanna focus on, but we're going in the right direction. We're at 75.4 overall for our digital certainty index, their language for that. So let's go into this actual part here. And this is going now back into the live dashboard. That might be too big. I'm gonna go right into the live dashboard, so you're gonna see the scores jump up. Because it's a combination of all the different groups that we have managed, so the overall goes to 79.5, quality assurance goes to 84.4. So not bad, right? This is managing the average of individual groups versus the overall page. So there might be a group with 90, there might be a group with 80, and it's combining all those things. So how they're doing this is like calculus beyond. So when you get the report, these numbers are different. This is by the groups, the other one is by the 2 pages. So I have a feeling that the groups one, if I had to guess, is not managing or looking as much at the athletic webpage. That's why the score goes up, I think, because the group specifically retailer refer me webpage. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna go into just one of the categories. So let's go to quality assurance here. And then I think we can go to accessibility and I can show you some of that reading stuff. So within this, you'll see a summary. Right, and then you'll have the breakdown of how it came and you'll see the big jump in our performance, because that's when we really started hammering it. Security is phenomenal, there's 100 out of 100. So our cybersecurity is it's all outward facing, we're not having anything coming in at us. Individual user experience, if I'm again back to that 10th grade reading level, as a whole, our quality assurance is pretty good, our content quality is pretty good. Quality freshness, it's a couple of years old, and I think because we have some stuff in there from like 2017 that just randomly pops in on some of our data, I think that might be part of it too, but I wanna show you, I think spelling might have something in it. So as you're going through it, again, you've got these 3 main category areas, and within each category area, they have different things that break it down. So you're kind of looking at 3 big areas, and you're looking at the little areas within the big areas. So you kind of pick one and we're gonna start working on it. So this will give you pages with misspellings and words to review.
So, I'm sorry to interrupt you, and just remind me again, when did we start using SciEmprove?
About 3 weeks ago.
Okay,
Remember before that, it was me and Isabella just clicking on links and waiting for people to tell us when stuff was broken.
oh my goodness, I was on the communication committee when I first got on the board, and that was like the number one, issue was how to fix the website with avoiding the click and explore
Yep,
method. So 3 weeks?
3 weeks.
Okay,
And
and
this
one
is,
thing that I actually love about this is to see that we're not 100% for security, peace of mind,
Yep.
because there's so much data on our staff and students.
on the intranet.
We
Yep.
need to be 100%.
And that's a testament to our IT group because, Katie and the rest of them on that team are phenomenal. And that is a huge focus. Cybersecurity is like, that's it, they're pretty much, their number one focus.
And
All the other
how
stuff
much should we
amazing.
invest in this program, can I ask?
Sure. So we negotiated,
Like,
so.
I mean, we have a return
Oh,
on investment.
I'm telling you
I
right
mean,
now,
you're gonna hire someone to click and explore all these links, I mean,
When I think when you hear the number, you're gonna kind of laugh. Because ultimately, when you think about just how much time I put in, again, I'm sitting at home watching TV.
oh, I did it for 3 hours.
And you're not ready.
and your
I feel like
list
I
was
made-
like that long, and you're like,
My list was probably 4 to 6 pages
Yeah.
long of screenshots and descriptions of what was broke. And I probably only went through 3 to 4 pages on the website and I was like, this is an unending.
Yeah,
Yes.
rabbit hole, one
Yeah.
after the other after the other. So when we first started exploring this, and this was David had one of his superintendent colleagues, he'd asked him, what do you do about your webpage? And you're like, what are you talking about? And he goes, you just need to use SciEmprove. And he's like, what's SciEmprove? So then one of the other guys sent over a link to SciEmprove. I looked into it, I set up a demo with them, and David and I just kind of watched what they were doing and listened to what they're saying. And don't get me wrong, it's fairly complicated, but at the same time, it was in an organized structure that we could figure it out, we could delegate each different piece out. And it was easy to manage from that standpoint, instead of just saying, well, just go click on the links for your school. This will pinpoint where your mistakes are, what you need fixing, and then it'll take you there. So the guy's like, well, I'm gonna tell you, we're a little more expensive than the other companies out there, but it's worth it when you do it. I'm thinking, oh, great. Normally when you hear a vendor say something like that, you're gonna be like, whatever, we're done. And not to mention the fact, I didn't even know there was other companies out there.
Right, we didn't even know you
I was like, I didn't know you guys
Until a
existed.
couple days ago.
So when he started talking, and he goes, I don't want you to be surprised by the price, and generally we require a 5-year contract, and I'm like, I'm not making 5-year contracts. And he's like, well, it's $8,800 a year, and for a 5-year contract, you get the discount, and I'm like, I looked over at the table, what did you say, $800 a year?
Did I hear that
And I'm
right?
like, is there any other, like,
Plus a discount.
is there another
Yeah,
Is there another amount of money coming in here somewhere? No, that's, I know it's a lot, but I'm like, well, you're willing to work with us on that price. He's like, well, yeah, we're willing to work with it. I'm like, okay, I hope they're not watching.
we'll get a bill tomorrow.
I mean-
Cause you're thinking 8,800 is reasonable.
I was gonna
Oh,
say,
yeah.
Like more than reasonable.
More than reasonable.
Yeah.
for the amount of human capital it takes to go
Yeah.
through and do this.
Yeah, yeah.
The
And the
hours.
fact that you have an obligation, like a lawful reason to be in compliance.
Correct.
Yeah.
You would rather not pay a person if
safety
you
and
can leverage a
security.
tool to do it, and the scale is much grander than
Yeah.
anything a human can do.
And it allows us to structure it in a systematic way, so we can have our school webmasters figure out what they need to do
That's
too.
awesome.
So, of course, I negotiated some more, and
Yeah,
we got a year and a half contract. So we paid from now until July 1, like $3,000. And then actually from, I don't wanna say it was January, it was the end of January till now, or till July 1 was like $3,000. And then we'll have another year contract on it for that. So he gave us the 5-year contract price for the same amount of a 1-year contract. Cause again, the goal would be next fall, we're pretty set. So
Yeah.
really, we just need a little touch-ups and tweaks here and
And then
there.
it's just on autopilot.
Yeah.
Except for when you know you're gonna have big updates, big pushes, big redesigns, then you know you have the combination of, okay, like when you, should you do something with the athletic page to move that in, you know you have this tool to help catch gaps and rally at it, so.
And that's gonna be part of that, when we do migrate that into the main webpage, that's gonna be a tool we wanna have.
well, and it's ongoing too, cause then when the county makes their updates, that's all, it's just gonna be constant. And you have so much information. Information management is a full-time job.
It really is, when you start thinking about, and again, when you go into this, so page level 4, that's what it means is, okay, I go on this, I gotta figure out where there's a misspelling in here. So we go into our staff directory, and it'll show up. That's your real name.
Yeah.
Okay, so then we can mark that as an approved word, and we can do it on the whole site. So then once that
Then it
goes
gets
through,
rid of that.
we don't have that show up anymore.
And that will never come back up. It's programmed.
Because now, once I do
Fantastic.
that, it'll
Right.
actually, and there's 2 occurrences of it,
Sure.
so then we mark that as, I wanted to change it to Glenny, now I gotta figure out where the enter button went here. It's so much easier on a bigger screen.
Sure.
Alright, you kinda get the point.
Yeah, no, that's great. That's great.
So really what'll happen is we just keep doing that, and it'll go through over and over all these other ones, you'll see all the pages where her name's on there.
So what essentially it's doing is bringing you right to the source. You still have to do the decisioning through it, but it will fix it, and it will fix it at scale.
And you'll see that again with names, everybody's names and with the different, types of names that are out there, and they're gonna have different spelling names than what they're normally used to.
Sure.
Let's take a look at the data announcements. I'm gonna guess it's another name. Because the North has a lot like this. Now, what this will do is it'll direct you to this page, but I'm hoping somewhere on here, there's normally a red highlight on wherever the issue is. So when it says it's on 4 pages deep, this would be, like, let's say that's on today's, somewhere in here, you click, somewhere in here, you click again. So this does take you down some rabbit holes.
So it's still labor intensive.
Yeah.
Okay,
And then in
but
the
it
background,
saves a significant amount of time.
it points you in the direction that you need to go where there's an issue.
Sure,
And then in the background, what you're doing on a separate screen is you're actually going into that page and then you're editing what it is you need to change. So you're operating simultaneously two separate applications that you gotta know how to use, but
sure.
it's getting you there.
So then, no, it's monitoring the ADA compliance as well, which is fantastic. I'm assuming if there was ever another update where they said, okay, now we need everyone's school district website to have these elements, Site Improve would just
They tell you
launch
here's how
an
to do it.
update with their software, and then it starts monitoring for that.
Yep.
Okay,
So let me see if I can find just so it's in that live. Accessibility piece is kind of an interesting thing to.
I think we get it.
Yeah.
It's a lot, but at the same time, this is huge. I mean, for what it's done to focus our attention on the areas that need fixing and how quickly we were able to fix it. We've
and
got
what,
900 dead links wiped out already.
what is the plan for Final Site then to be integrated?
So ideally, we have the one webpage for everything, and other than the rec department, I think is still gonna be standalone. We'll keep them separate just because they do an excellent job managing that platform.
Okay,
But ultimately bringing the athletic webpage onto our webpage, so that when we do go into the main page, instead of having to do multiple clicks, and then we can use our software instead of VNN software to change things, we have a better hold on what it is we're doing through Final Site.
and what is, like, do we have a timeline on that though for,
No, but we're not right now, mainly because there's a cost affiliated with it through Final Site themselves. So we've kinda gotta negotiate
so we
that.
have a contract with Final Site that has not expired yet,
Yeah.
and that is why they
Yeah.
would say that there's a fee. How, do you know how much time we have left with them?
I'm thinking,
I-
and they are probably one of the best that we could find.
Sure,
I'm thinking we probably got 2 years left.
okay,
Let's see if I can find. What I'm gonna log out of this just so it's more normal looking.
okay. So, does it make sense for us to stay with Final Site and for the until the contract is done and then review where things are at,
Yeah,
how things have been going with Site Improve, is this something we wanna go forward with, yes, no?
and see if we wanna, and I'm pretty sure the Final Site's gonna be our winner. But again, it's not gonna hurt to go out there and look,
Right,
because there are different companies that do it. The majority of Wisconsin, I think, relies on Final Site.
sure,
Some of the smaller districts, and actually a couple of the bigger ones I know of too, do use a different site management platform, but
well, I think as long as the athletic department prefers that platform, they're familiar with it, they're using it, it's being updated, and the families are getting the information that they need, mission accomplished.
yeah, it would be great if they could. So this is the VNN one here, and I think you guys have all seen this many times. So what we do, because it's similar in format to what we've got, I don't think it'd be too hard to transition in. But again, with the negotiations that are going on with this platform with BSN, this is probably gonna go away. And when John had talked to, D'Amato had talked with the other ADs in the conference, he was more concerned about how this would impact our scheduling process
Right,
through our school, so it doesn't. And that was one of the biggest fears, so he's like, let's do it, let's migrate it over when we can and
okay,
we'll be
Well, and
good.
there's so much like, I don't know how much time we spent on the athletic page, so really quickly, see how there's a link for photos up on the top there next to the hand? But then every team page that you go into
Is
also
empty.
has a whole subset. There's just so much scale that isn't being fulfilled or leveraged or utilized that it's a very robust site,
Mhm.
but nobody's maintaining it or updating it or leveraging it for the social component that I would love to be able to merge the data into our district so that we have synergy.
One spot.
Yep.
And even, and like a uniformity to it, cause even with the clubs, you know,
well,
that's
and
one of
then
the
it
things. John-
monitors the compliance, it monitors the
Everything.
security,
Correct.
right,
Instead of having, and that is actually, well, it should have been an extra charge through Site Improve. They have 2 web pages with the amount of content they have,
okay,
but that was not negotiated.
well done,
Nice.
alright.
It's like, well,
Any other
we're not gonna do that one.
questions on the,
Thanks for the demo.
yeah,
It's good to see how the team's going in, using it, working it, and so that's really awesome.
Yeah, it's been a very nice program.
right,
And having to learn multiple programs in 6 months It made it nice for
And then do
me.
you all have the
I'm
ability to have
sure.
like dual screens at your desk, so
Yeah.
when you talk about toggling and being on a tiny screen, I'm assuming that speeds up the experience and the process of
For sure.
reconciling, okay, good.
Yeah, and some people, and like some of our IT people have multiple screens, so they have 2 layers up and doing stuff too, so. I have a television that I can kind of bounce it to if someone else is in the office, so we're working on it together too, but not as big as these, but it works.
I just converted to the 3 screens at my desk.
Isn't that nice?
I thought 2 was where I was at, but I'm up to 3 now.
Yeah, yeah,
It's right.
Definitely
I
better
know.
than this.
it's nice.
Looking at this all day.
Alright, scorecard information.
So I've been doing in the background some add-on stuff to that, so what you saw today is added on to some of the different points for that. But otherwise, it's still plug and chug,
Yeah,
everything plug and chug.
Okay.
And you got to see the presentation last week too on it, so.
Awesome. Is the scorecard in general just becoming part of how people are living and breathing in
Yeah.
terms of, hey, this is the priorities we're focusing on and this is how, don't forget to track that, like,
Yeah.
I'm hoping it's like a culture shift that's taking place where people are having to be conscious, so.
Yeah, the hard part's the tracking.
Right, of course
You
it
know,
is.
because you're doing so much and you do, but then it's like, well, hold on a second, we better make sure we're writing some of this stuff down.
Correct,
So people are understanding that we're
Perfect.
actually accomplishing some of it. And there's so much other stuff, and again, what we're talking about tonight is part of that, but it's not a real direct communication
correct. piece
piece of the pillar, but it is
Right,
stuff we
but
definitely
it
want
is.
people to know
I
because
think it is.
it's
People have,
talking to families.
right, it has, people have noticed
Yeah.
that it needs improvement.
Yeah, yeah.
So, I think
Yeah.
that our families will be noticing, the improvements and appreciating that, so, well done. Yeah, and as far as the scorecard information, you know, as Shelley had mentioned, kind of like that 5-year strategic plan too, it's right, always bringing us back to those points, what are we doing and why, are we on the right track, and which is just kind of nice to have that update as needed. All right, future agenda items.
We had talked last time about bringing one of the RSOs in, or did you wanna do that on a full board meeting? David was here when we talked about it.
The
SRO.
SROs, okay, yeah,
What did I say?
RSO.
Oh, sorry, that's
That's
One
okay.
day, I was like, I knew what you meant, I
Yeah,
spoke
yeah.
to Travis like,
So, I mean, I can ask Scott or Nick or Jay, one
Yeah,
come in.
What are you looking for, Mr.
well,
Langer?
like to piggyback off of your security updates, where we're at with behavior and parking lot stuff and, you know, things like
I
that.
think,
Yeah, I don't wanna take away from their time, but if they're already in the building, you know, here,
I think I emailed them.
oh, okay. I know we had talked about it,
And
David.
again, I don't know if we were gonna get an SRO or if they were gonna summarize a report and then have somebody come visit.
Yeah.
Somehow I think it's just get the information, so whether it's the person, it's just to get their perspective and the impact of the investment in the cameras, the
Yeah.
Investment
shift.
staff,
yes,
which I think,
yes, and then a lot of the implementation of the safety and stuff, like how they're seeing that partnership evolve and the impact it's having on
The
their
additional
resources.
SRO that hired.
because we are looking at adding another 0.5.
I don't know.
Well,
Or a
it was the
full one.
financing it. So to get us up to where we're supposed to be, where we should be for payment of them.
Okay,
So right now, we're paying, I think we're paying 1.5 for all 3, but we rely on them for 9 months out of the 12. So we've got a graduated process to get us caught up to that 3/4 level, basically is what it comes
Okay.
down to. But the 3/4 that we're paying also doesn't include things like uniforms, trainings, vehicles, because each one of the SROs has their own vehicle, which is $75,000
testing.
each. So we're trying to do our part better with financing, but we are getting the benefit out of it, which is an officer.
Does that mean just putting more than in Fund 80 to be able to cover it? Okay, perfect.
And really what we were, the goal
So we
would-
fund the whole program. The village doesn't,
No, they cover the
It's
25,
shared.
they'll cover the 25%, which basically would cover it for the 3 months of the year.
okay, so they can continue to work while they're not.
Yeah. And even,
But there's also summer school stuff,
yeah,
we don't
having
have
said
any,
that, we have police presence during summer school.
Okay,
But it's just kind of there, cause they are still
And
on
then traffic
call.
control for.
Yeah.
They are still on call constantly.
Right.
So for the village, for us, I mean, it's.
Yeah.
It's a pretty big job
Yeah.
for a cop.
Well-
So I think that us getting to that level, looking at a fourth, once we get that pay structure set up and once we kind of get more established with what we wanna do, I think a fourth SRO would be a benefit, just like adding another AP at the elementary school. So that again, when one's out, because they're human too, they get sick and things, they go down, they're having to rotate really two within the 6 schools instead of having, the full 3.
Yeah.
If we had 4, that means there's less of that problem to come up. The difficulty is when the police department themselves are short and they're having, because again, cops
That was
are
my
getting
next question, how many do
They
they
get
have
60.
trained as SROs versus,
Meaning, yeah, one can sub
can one,
in.
exactly, can one sub in, what is the
Versus-
cost of that versus,
And having, and actually the training of SROs on top of it, because they really
Right.
don't have many people that are, that this is a very big part of the hiring process too. But they're, just because you're a cop doesn't necessarily mean you want to be a cop that works with kids,
it's true,
or is a cop that's good at working with kids.
Right.
So I think that there's a lot to be said with that training, but it's also the right person for the job. You have to have officers that wanna work with kids, and we're very, very fortunate with the 3 we have, because they love working with kids, and they're great at it. So I think that that's another part of the hiring process. And the chief was talking last week that it's about a 6-month turnaround for getting an officer ready to go. And having an SRO ready to go, generally you wanna have a year's of experience behind them too. But really looking at the pool of current patrol officers or people that are regular cops, wanting to do the job and then putting them through the training.
Yeah. Our current ones are, I mean, at some point, they're gonna retire. So we have a plan in place to, the chief has a plan.
Yeah, but as good as we can.
Yeah.
And the hard part is we can't solidify it until there's actually that letter. And,
Yeah.
We could try to, but,
Well, we can forecast it based on age and time and service.
and based upon what they say, until they actually do, kinda, it's a gamble.
Yeah.
And when you look at having people trained in the background, it's nice to have that training done,
Mhm.
but then you also roll the dice of you just pay
Who
for
you
the training
trained.
and now they're leaving.
Mm-hmm.
So just like we do with some of our staff too, so
Sure.
it's a constant thing where we do the best we can to forecast and predict it based upon what we know with our currents. But they also have to rotate on the interviews too, because it's not just because I'm an SRO, I'm a permanent SRO. They have to apply, they have to interview for the position themselves again too. So as we start looking at the years of time and trying to get as many like pre-trained SROs
Yeah.
done, that is what they wanna do. Well, they would be captain, they're working on that and assistant chief too, so. It's it gets complicated from their end for sure.
Sure,
Our end is, we're the benefactors, they're the ones doing a ton of work on it.
Yeah.
And they're having to do the front ends of it. So we're very, I think, of all the different places that I've worked, we have SROs to rely on, I think we're in a very, very good spot.
well, and I think the village of Menominee Falls overall, the district working with the rec department, working with, how close we are to the police department, it's phenomenal. We
do.
really have a
We're very fortunate.
lot
Yeah.
to be thankful for in this community.
Yeah.
Any other questions?
Donovan
Or-
Group, that was the other
Oh.
one we're looking at for May.
Yes,
So hopefully by then we'll have our student results back, so we'll be able to give some of that for the data.
right,
I did talk with Brian last week and he does have a shell of a presentation ready to go, we just have to put the data points in, so.
okay,
I think we'll be in a good spot for May for that.
yes. Okay, and by then we will have the reconfigured committees.
Yep.
And so I think it'll be a good update for whoever's coming into student services, so. Perfect,
So,
alright,
Well, I will make the motion to adjourn.
alright,
I'll second.
all those in favor? Aye. Motion has passed, we are adjourned at, I do not have.
6:44.
6:44. Thank you. Oh, and I see Donovan Group is on here, I decided to flip the page.